Hi, folks. Welcome to episode 50. It's unbelievable. I'm still thinking, how did I get here? There were so many challenges, obstacles along the way, and joys. And I'm here to share the whole journey. How did that go? And I think the best way to discuss that is to get your questions and get them answered. So, a few of you were very kind and you provided very, very valuable queries that I'll be delighted to answer in the next, say, 1 hour. Well, let's see how much time we spend here. I just want to make sure that the time we spend together is fun, insightful, and we can all improve our lives as we interact. That's the objective of the podcast, and that's the same that will drive the upcoming conversation. Though today we are experimenting a different format. It's just me, myself, and I, and yourselves on the other side of the screen. So I'm a beginner. I'm an absolute beginner. I haven't done this in my life, but I'm very keen to try it myself. So I decided to do this for two reasons. The first is I want to celebrate episode 50. So I want to highlight that 50, 50, not 15, not 15, but episode 50. And I'm delighted to get here for many reasons, because it's difficult to be consistent. We all have our up and downs along the way, but I'm here, and I'm delighted that I get here, and there is more to come. The other motive, which is somehow emotional, and most of you will be familiar with, is that I had a surgery recently. This happened exactly 2 weeks ago. I'm now in shape, so the recovery has been fantastic. I'd say I just need to thank whoever was sending me message, the company of my beautiful girlfriend, and my cute cat with me, and the grace of God. So I'm very, very fortunate to be where I am now. I just want to add that it was not a complicated surgery. It was a umbilical hernia repair, but it's tricky because it involves general anesthetic, and that's something I panicked for quite some time in my life. But I think I faced it with reason, and it wasn't as traumatic as I expected. I don't want to speak a lot about that. I'm thinking to run a separate video on this. I already published an article, so if you are familiar with Medium, I have my own webpage there. So I might put the link in the description once the recording is over. And as I mentioned, I'm thinking to do a video on my surgery experience, the before and after, so with a positive outcome. But the main thing why we are here is to answer your questions. I'm overwhelmed by the number of questions I receive. To be honest, I wasn't that optimistic. So I want to say a big, big thank you for your kindness, for taking the time to think of what would you like to ask me, and also the result of the questions I collected is brilliant, because it's not just about one topic, and I try not to be monothematic myself. So it really covers the diversity of this podcast when it comes to the themes we explore. So that's politics, that's travel, that's art, that's writing, that's dating, that's Israel. There are so many things to go through. So because there are plenty, and I'm kind of a guy who likes to talk about, and sometimes I get lost in my own thoughts, I want to crack on. So I will just put the questions here and starting answering them. And we have someone saying, hey, Vitor, that's Flip Cardoz. That's one of the best podcasters we have in YouTube. I learned a lot from him. And actually, before I get into the questions, on that article I wrote about my surgery experience, I highlighted how Flip was vital for me at the beginning of this journey. So thank you, Flip. So let's get to the questions. Let's see if I can do this, because as I said, I'm a beginner, but I'm eager to learn in front of everyone. So where we have this here. Okay, I read all the questions just for the sake of transparency. I read them all. I didn't prepare the answers. I just put some of them ahead of others that I think it will make sense, the sequence. So let's start with this one. Is there a topic for this episode? There isn't. There isn't a topic. It's a free format podcast. So we won't be focused on anything in particular. I know there are warm topics like what I went to recently. We are on a podcast, so it's no wonder that people will ask things related to streaming and stuff like that. But it's an open conversation. So there's no specific topic. We just explore as we enjoy. Okay. So next question is, have you ever had a guest that made you sleepy? I haven't. And I'm not being cute or just nice. It's a fact. Like I interviewed more than 50 people, and none of them made me sleepy. Now, that being said, there are people that I connected with more than others, but that's just normal. That's just how people interact and they engage. And if we didn't click that much, and there were just a few exceptions where, let's say, there wasn't a massive chemistry between myself and the guest, I wouldn't blame on the guest, and I wouldn't blame on myself either, because this is like Jordan Peterson tends to approach this kind of activities like a dance. So not everyone is your right or appropriate dancing partner. So if for some reason the conversation wasn't that fruitful, or we didn't click that much, I don't think it's a one-side guilt. I think most occasions the guilt is to be shared, but I was very lucky, and I haven't had much experiences where I was not ignited by the guest, or I felt that the guest was not ignited by me. For the vast majority of times, I think there was a positive connection between myself and the people I took in my show. So there were no reason to drink a coffee or anything like that. I think I'm very fortunate, and also I think if you are curious and you care, there are no reasons to be sleepy when you are talking to people, because even if at the beginning they are not the most exciting individual, you never know. Sometimes the person is still overcoming something they just experience, or they are nervous, or we don't know with whom we are talking. So I always allow people to put their feet on the ground and start the chat, because there are times that the conversation just starts to fly a bit later, say after 10-20 minutes, and we are just getting to know each other. So no, I haven't had any experience like that. I'm very, very blessed. Next one. Will we see an interview of comedian Sam Hyde? Well, I'm going to be very frank. I don't know who Sam Hyde is. I haven't heard of him. So I could have done a preparation here and come across smart that I know who is Sam Hyde. I would love to have him in my show. Maybe you can get his contact details to my email box or something like that. No, I don't know who is him, but if the person who put that question is eager to see Sam in my podcast, no problem. I'll take that in consideration. If you are friends with Sam or you have his contact details, please share them with me, and I'm happy to take a look. The door is open. I'm very curious and keen to talk to comedians for many reasons. First, I think or I see comedians as very much skilled individuals, in the sense that they can make fun of things that are a taboo for most of us. So comedian is always a good start. I don't know who Sam is, but if he is a comedian, he is already halfway here. So I promise, I'm gonna investigate more about Sam Hyde. And who knows, maybe we're gonna have him here in the next month or two. My schedule is full till beginning of March, but maybe that's for the spring. Who knows? Jump to next one. Did you ever not publish an episode because of what was said during the talk? No, that didn't happen. And again, I'm not being cute or anything like that. It's a fact. It says Rio, as I'm now talking to you guys, didn't happen. And I doubt that will ever happen in the future. There are a couple of reasons for that. One is I moved to live conversations. So whatever happens live will stay as is. I don't think there is a reason to censor people the same way I don't like to be censored. So I believe that podcasts, unlike the traditional interviews, they need to be as sincere, authentic, and real as possible. So I don't see myself not publishing an episode in the future. So it hasn't happened. There was no reason for me to do it. There was never a time where I even considered it. What I did was sometimes there was some technical issues, and just to be sure that the flow was smooth, I fixed that. But I never deleted any part because I was not happy with what people said. And I'll be honest here. I didn't agree with people all the time. You probably are aware of that. I had a few guests in my show who said things I was not really in favor of, but I believe that people have the right to speak their minds, and others should have the ability to hear what people have to say, regardless of what's their ideology or society view and all that. So that was never the case. I don't foresee it in the future because I want this to be as tangible as possible. So we will keep it natural. We will keep it spontaneous. Same way I'm doing it right now. I will, of course, keep it for the public because I know that people may want to watch it live, but life didn't allow them. So I will keep it for folks who want to watch it. I may watch this, say, tomorrow and not be 100% happy with everything I said from beginning to the end, but that's the nature of it, and I'm willing to accept it. So the answer is no, it hasn't happened, and I will also highlight that I don't expect that to happen in the future. Next question. That one place on earth where you are closest to your true self, a moment of pure being. Yeah, that's a profound one. Place or moment? What I can say is there are circumstances that are more prone for those moments, and I think when I'm going for a walk, that's beneficial. So if I'm just wandering around without any specific purpose or intention, I may connect to my core in a way that I don't if I'm, let's say, interested in an event or trying to get to from A to B or from B to C. So I believe that, for instance, nature helps. So if you are say by the sea and there is not a lot of people, which can be challenging. But let's say in Ireland it's great for that. There is a lot of coast, and because of the weather, not everyone has the courage, to walk by the seaside because it can be quite windy. Sometimes it's even wet. But I'd say I'm brave enough to walk even when the weather is hostile. So yeah, I'd say I had a good. I had a lot of times when I was on the Irish coast or in the middle of the green field, and I felt close to my true self, because I was not, let's say, contaminated by the surroundings. I could focus on what really matters and set aside what is irrelevant. So Ireland is a place where I experienced that, and that's probably one of the reasons why I live here and I want to live here for a long while. So let's say Ireland for that question, but that's a beautiful one. Yeah, thank you. You have a comment here for my dear comrade, let's call it comrade, Guerra de Informação. Guerra de Informação, from those who don't know, it's a Portuguese speaking YouTube channel where I collaborate. I'm actually one of the founders together with two other fellows. So unfortunately, the flags are not coming up, but it's Israel, Portugal, Ireland, Hungary, and Liberty, the Statue of Liberty. It's a good one. So good choice, and we'll be live tomorrow. So what's next question? Based on your wide experience, what is the best and the worst nationality to be in a relation? I think, just trying to get the question. So I think what the person means is, what's the best and worst nationality to pick when you are, let's say, in the dating market, looking for a partner? Based on my wide experience, I wonder what they mean by that. I cannot complain, but there are people out there who are way more experienced than me, I guess. The best and the worst nationality. Well, just one thing I need to say in advance, that people are people, so it's okay to generalize, because we have to, otherwise we cannot understand things. It's not wrong, it's not incorrect. It's a way to verify what's happening with us. So that's an exercise that I do, and I will do it to answer this question. Now, should I start by the best or by the worst? Let's start with the worst, that we end in a positive note. The worst, no, I'm going to say, when it comes to being in a relationship with me, which not necessarily is true for every single lad out there, okay? Now, I don't particularly enjoy being in a relationship with someone who wants to be with me all the time, okay? I think that's annoying. It compromised the health of the relationship in a way that it's difficult to breathe, and at some point it makes it tiring, because like people can love each other a lot, and they do it. There's a lot of true love out there, and I've experienced myself. I'm very blessed with that, but there will be the time that you get tired of each other, and you need to be able to do things on your own or with your crew. Now, that's why I don't really enjoy being with someone who needs to do every single thing with me and expects me to do every single thing with her. And I hope I'm not going to piss off the Brazilians, but the Brazilians tend to be like that. And I would also expand, again, my wide experience wouldn't cover that. The Latinos tend to be like that. The Latinos, especially, what I mean, the Latinos is the South Americans, not necessarily the Mediterraneans, although we are similar. But I would say that's not really suitable for me, because I understand the passion, the fire, and all that, and that's fantastic, and that's something I will highlight as positive. But for the same token, these people tend to be on your shoulder all the time. There are various reasons for that. Maybe we can do a separate podcast on the relationships and going through patterns when it comes to that culture and other culture. But that's something I don't really enjoy. So I hope the Brazilian so don't be upset with me, but I had relationships with Brazilians in the past, and that was always an issue, and that seems to be still the case. It hasn't changed, with the new generations and all that. So I'd say that's not great for me. Now the best I would say, the best is a culture that is serious, grounded, and they care. Okay, so yeah, I know that I'm probably asking for a lot, but that's what when it comes. That's what happens when it comes to relationship. You don't want to just accept for the sake of not being alone. I think that's wrong. You need to demand, but you also need to offer. So when I'm expecting all of these from the person I'm with, I'm conscious that it's a two-way. So I'm also bringing, I believe, or to the best of my ability, value to the table. So I find, that's again based on my experience, the Eastern Europeans very good on that, because they are interested, they are practical, and they don't take any bullshit. So that's a great combo, and that comes as a great package, I think, because you have someone with tangibles on the other side you can rely to, and you can rely on. So I think that's probably what I would say. I wouldn't say nationality. I think it's more of geography. Yeah, I would put it as geography other than nationality, because I don't see much difference between, say, the Hungarians or the Slovaks or the Poles. There are differences, but overall, they all resonate with what I just referred. Okay, let's go next question here. Sorry, I just got lost. That's a good one. Are you afraid of being cancelled? I'm not, and I'm not like playing the brave or the courageous here. I'm not. I mean, I say that with an open mouth. I'm not. Now, I'm conscious of being cancelled. That's another thing. Like, you can be conscious of something that is a threat, but you are not necessarily in fear. So you are aware of the consequences if you take a certain path, or what can happen to you if you go that way, or you talk about something in a certain way. But I'm not afraid. And of course, there are various reasons for that. One is, I think I built a profile and a structure that allows me to face a cancellation. Now, I'm not at this point in time, when it comes to being an author or a YouTuber, I'm far from being massive, so I wouldn't say I could be cancelled. Now, I'm fairly confident that there were occasions where, say, I wasn't invited to participate in a arts and culture festival because I say something about politics that didn't sit that well with the organizers, or some guests, they declined my invite because I believe that there are only two genders and things like that. But I also think that, okay, these were closed doors, but at the same time, some other were open. So that's okay. If I think about the whole equation, I'm not unsatisfied. I think every single choice, it comes with a repercussion, and I'm willing to accept that. So I'm not afraid to be cancelled. I'm conscious that I can be constrained, and I'm okay with that, because I believe that if I don't go a certain path, I may be able to access other things for not going that path. So I'm okay. It's all about being fine with whatever happens, whatever you do. So next question is actually a long one, so I'm gonna split it in three. I've been watching the road in bewilderment at the chaotic picture of brain atrophy. It feels like being in the psychiatric ward of a hospital. The Trump administration has barely begun. Oh, not this. And has opened Pandora's box, exposing endless interference around the world. And we know that the mainstream media is part of the system of the chaos. So how important are independent media for a return to normality? Sorry, I need a glass of water after this long question. Yeah, I would subscribe the comment just to start with. I can see that we are in a mad context, probably not as mad as in the past, in the recent past. I believe that civilization is in the right direction. There were times where nonsense was more popular than it is now. I think the whole narrative is being dismantled, and that's where, just to answer your question, that's where the independent media plays a role. So I'm fully confident that people like myself, and I'm not putting myself in the pedestal, okay? There are many like me out there who are just speaking their minds and trying to understand what's going on in the road and what they can do about it. So I think independent media, it's vital. It's not only necessary or important, it's absolutely crucial to clarify a few things, because look, like most of us, or the vast majority of us, are not sponsored by big dragons, okay, or by big sharks. We may have people giving us a hand, financial here and there. I'm not one of them. I'm still very much running this show based on my own resources and means. So, but what I want to say is the independent media is not necessarily part of a huge structure where people are taught to promote a certain idea. People, like the independent media, is run by individuals who they just want to understand what happened, have real conversations, and by that showing what is hidden. Basically, that's that. It's sort of a role of replacing what the media or the traditional media used to be. Like I'm old enough, and I'm 41. I was turning 42 on Friday. I'm old enough to remember that journalists used to go after the truth, and they will investigate. It's not the case anymore. Like the other day, I was at the waiting room in one of the medical appointments I had recently, and I had the lack of watching Sky News for a few minutes, and it was absolutely appalling. I keep hearing, like, on X and on YouTube, people I follow, that the mainstream media is a disgrace, and believe me, it is, because the first piece they show, it wasn't journalism, it was complete propaganda. Everyone could see it. Like, it was so evident that they couldn't even deny it. So the independent media is here to promote some normality. Absolutely. Okay. So I just check anything here. No. Next one. Would you like to coach guys becoming expert on the art of love? Well, that's a very challenging job. Coaching guys becoming expert on the art of love. I will even split it in 3 parts here, and I will start with the last one: art of love. Like, what is the art of love? I guess that the person who raises this question believe that is turning on women. No, basically that being able to get on a date and connect with a woman and see if there are chances to be in a relationship with, or evaluating the situation. It's tricky. Like interactions are quite tricky, and dating is no exception. So the art of love is already complicated, but I'm not giving up. I'm not giving up because I'm delighted to take on difficult tasks like this one I'm having now, becoming expert. So they are not only learning the art of love, they need to be experts. So that's raising the bar. So this guy is asking if I want to coach guys becoming experts, not only being able to run the show, they need to be experts. And that means that I need to be an expert myself, because if I'm not an expert, how can I coach someone to be one, right? And coaching people is very difficult because, okay, some know, some who are close to me, I do that in my personal life. I like the dating topic. I think it's a field where I have some knowledge, and I can share insights that are helpful. So, but I always find that not everyone is willing to learn from the person seated next to you. Okay, what happens is, for the majority of individuals, it's okay, let's say, to sit in front of YouTube, like let's say like now, and they see a guy having a podcast with, I don't know, 10,000 followers or 20,000. Not me, because I'm nowhere there, and they are willing to learn from that guy. But if you don't have the the portfolio, it's very difficult. Now, that being said, I'm happy to pursue that, because that's one of the things I enjoy, is to help people finding their way in life, the same way I enjoy when others do that with myself. So yeah, I'll be happy to take that. Maybe that's something to explore in the podcast. So I have a comment here now, or a question. What's the worst part about the podcast process? That's again from my good friend Flip. Thank you very much. Yeah. Okay, I'll put it back. The worst part. I think, Flip, you probably know better than me, but on my own experience, no, the worst part is not necessarily the podcast itself. When I'm recording it, when I'm talking to the guest, and also the preparation when it comes to take notes, research the person, and also setting up the conversation, arranging the time. I'm fine with all that. Looking for people, because I do that very often. There are people contacting me, but it's a mixed bag between being approached and approaching others. For me, the worst is what happens afterwards, is the production, because I'm not really an IT person. I think I developed some skills in that area, but it's not necessary. It's not exactly me. So the biggest pain would be to do the edits and also the promotion. The promotion is maybe a bit more rewarding, in the sense that I like to see the numbers, and I like to evaluate the consequences of my strategies. So I like to assess how well I'm doing, and know that. But the technical part, yeah, I would happily outsource to someone else. So maybe it's something to consider. Okay, let's go to next one. why don't you do episodes in Portuguese? Yeah, that's something I've been asked in person. Why I don't do episodes in Portuguese? There are a couple of reasons for that. Okay, one is, as I mentioned a few minutes ago, I'm part of a separate channel, Guerra da Informação, which is in English, InfoWars. I like to call it InfoWars Brazil because the podcast is focused mostly on Brazilian affairs, although we speak or discuss geopolitics as well. So I have that. So I explore the Portuguese public on that channel. So that already is ticking the box. The fact that I can do that. So that's one. The other one is why I don't do it in the same channel as this one, and the reason is it's not good for the algorithm. I've tried that, mixing the two language, and it doesn't help. I didn't know about it. I just understood at a later stage. I learned hard way because my viewings went down, but it's not something that worked, at least in my experience. So I'd rather keep the episodes in Portuguese in the other channel. I think it makes more sense. Also, the reason why I pursue with English rather than Portuguese in this one is I want to reach to a global audience, and we live in the 21st century, and what I usually name as the language of the road is English. So if for some reason in 5 years the language is Portuguese, maybe I will switch. But for now, with English, I can access a wider audience, and I can have more guests. So I stick to English for these three reasons. What can improve relations between the EU and USA over the next 4 years during a Trump presidency, in your opinion? Yeah, so that will be tricky because the way I see Trump, he is more interested in the American well-being, and not as much in the road. Now, he's not being selfish. He's not neglecting the others, but he's just prioritizing the states, which makes sense. He was elected by the Americans. He was not. It wasn't us who cast the vote and brought Trump back to the White House. So he needs to look after his own citizens first. And of course, that is not very well seen by the EU, because we need to think that the EU is no longer a bunch of countries together. It's almost like a federation, which kind of reports to Brussels, and I'm open about it. I dislike that. I'm a person who benefited a lot from the EU, and I want to express my gratitude for that. And I think there are a lot of positive aspects that we owe to the EU, but lately is degenerating into I wouldn't call it a dictatorship, but it's degenerating into a bureaucratic monster who is not always helpful to the citizens. So there is a clash for sure between the EU and the current US administration, but, and that's something I said in the InfoWars Brazil a few times, I believe that a few of the EU leaders, they will concede to what people now call Trump 2.0. They have no other option, and most of these EU leaders, they have no spine or structure. They just go with whatever serves them. They are not reliable human beings. They are careerists. So if the trend now is Trump, they will go with Trump, and that probably will help to improve, to answer the person's question, the relation between the US and the USA in the next 4 years. Now, there will be still friction. That's something that it's undeniable, but it won't. I believe it won't be as bad as it was in the past, and probably in a year or two, you'll be surprised that some politicians who were openly hostile to Trump are now somehow allies of him. That's my prediction. What's here? Hello, Vitor. Hello. I don't know how to pronounce your name, and I'm not going to dare, but hello back. Let's go to the next question. If you are enjoying, just adding, if you are enjoying, please give me a thumbs up. And if you know someone who is not watching this, share, because there is still a good few questions to cover. A moment or a situation of heightened fragility when you are a foreigner. So I think the intent of this question is to cover my expat life and the times I was traveling, say, to exotic places where I didn't speak the language or the culture was quite the contrary of mine. Yeah, so I probably give an example to illustrate each. Fragility I experienced a lot when I lived in Poland for a year, especially, and that's a funny one, especially at the end. And why is that? Because you would think that it was tougher at the start, but it wasn't. And the reason is when I moved to Poland, actually one of the things that I was fascinated with was to be surrounded by people talking something I didn't have a clue. Okay, so I wanted to be able to disconnect and just feel that that discrepancy between myself and others. I don't know. I wanted to have that as a chapter in my life, and I had it. But at the beginning, there is some adrenaline about it because you want to get things done. You don't know exactly how, and there's a whole adventure about, say, even like ordinary things, like ordering a beer. I make sure that you are getting the beer you like, because I'm picky with beers. I don't drink any shit. So yeah, so that was tough, but mostly at work. Because it was hard for me to follow what's happening, and I like it to be part of projects, and I was not always sure if that was happening, and I developed some paranoia, I have to say. And it took me time to understand that, but I developed some paranoia. So even after leaving Poland for maybe a couple of years, I was very afraid of being left out. I think there is a psychology term for that. I can't remember now, but I had always this feeling that I was not taken in consideration, or people were being mean. So it took me time to overcome that, and I don't blame that much in Polish people. I think I was not prepared for that. So that was that I felt very fragile because there was very little I could do, and sometimes it was frightening. Now, when I was traveling, the occasion where I felt that being a foreign wasn't particularly privilege was when I crossed the border between Macau and China. It was the only time I was in China, and I loved it. I had a great time in China. I was in Guangzhou for 4 or 5 days. It was my first time ever in Asia, with the exception of Israel, although Israel is not exactly Asia, in my opinion. And it was tough because just to make it short, because of this again, this could be this could be a reason to be here talking for an hour. Just maybe I can do an episode on China or in Asia. Basically, I crossed the border. And it was around, I don't know, 6 p.m. maybe, and it was sunset. And for those who are not that familiar with that part of the road in China, the sunsets are they're very quick. Like they go like this, blink of an eye. And I had booked my bus to my hotel, but I couldn't find it. I just couldn't find it, and everything was in Chinese. There was no sight of Western tourists in that bus station. There were like loads of Chinese, with bags and talking to each other like mad. And I was afraid that I would just stay there at the border. And I want to make this short, but I had some challenges to cross the border because my passport was not in the best shape, and the Chinese are very careful with people, with letting people in their country. So I really felt that the language was a big thing there. It was a big thing, and eventually, just to finalize the story, eventually I managed to find my bus, and I go to the hotel. There was some trouble in check-in and all that in China, but yeah, it was part of the fun. But it wasn't. There was a mix of fun and fragility when I crossed the border and I was waiting to the bus. Okay. If you had to move to another country to live, which one would it be, excluding those where you have already lived? Now, not everyone knows this, so I'm just going to mention this out loud. Other than my home country, Portugal, I lived in Spain, Poland, that I just referred, Hungary, and I'm now in Ireland. Okay, so I cannot say any of those countries where I lived. Now, I will be highlighting that I don't want to leave Ireland. I don't see myself anywhere else in the world, and I'm delighted where I am, and I cannot imagine being based in any other country. It's just hard to picture. Not that. So if I have to leave Ireland, and that tells how much I love to live here, I would move to Northern Ireland. That's simple. Yeah, it's a country. Okay, it's a country. We all know there is a border. There are, so I think I'm not cheating. I would say Northern Ireland for two reasons. First, I could travel back to Ireland every time I want, and the second is it's very similar to the Republic. So I would move to Northern Ireland, and if I change my mind after living there, I could easily buy ground, relocate back to the Republic of Ireland. So I would go to Northern Ireland. Maybe that's a boring answer. So just to spice it up, I would fancy something that I missed in my life. I had that in mind for quite some time, which was living and working in Asia. No, not the backpacker type. I think that's some leftist utopia crap. That's not necessarily me, but I would love to have spent a couple of years either in Hong Kong or Singapore, or maybe South Korea. say, developed Asia, not necessarily Japan. Not that I have anything against Japan, but it was never in my mind. I would love to go to Japan. Actually, I've been considering that as a trip for the near future. Maybe not this year, maybe next one. But I would be happy to have spent a couple of years there. But didn't happen. That's okay. I don't think it will ever happen. We are not able to tick all the boxes through our lives. That's fine. So I'm happy with Northern Ireland. Next one. When can you expect another book release from you in English? Well, in English, I cannot promise a new book this year. There is a chance, but I'm still at early stages when it comes to my conversations with publishers and all that. So I would be surprised if there will be a book released in English this year. Next year, I'm fairly confident based on where those conversations are, and also some other things I've been developing on the side. I'm actually writing a poetry book in English, and I expect that everything going well, that could be published and available to the public next year. But it's not even finalized, so I think I'm being over optimistic here. What I will say for the others that speak Portuguese, that there will be a novel being released in September, October. I'm very, very excited about it because it's one of the most ambitious pieces I've ever written. It's for my standard, it's quite of a sizable piece. It's probably 250 pages, if not 300. It's fiction, which is also I don't write all the time. I'm more into memoirs and share my own experience and not necessarily compose stories with characters and all that. So that's I have for September. And the other one is a Polish translation of my poetry book that I wrote when I lived in Poland. So that should be released. I'd say quarter 2, quarter 3. Everything going well. So that's what I have. Let's move on. Will Ireland suffer economically as a result of our elected leaders' poor, biased, virtue signaling on Israel? Absolutely yes. That's out of question. So Irish people and Ireland residents have acted, in my opinion, a very very poor government. I think they opted for the devil they know. So they were and they were lacking, and that excuses the outcome of the election, but they were lacking alternatives or credible new options. So they went with the devil that they know. Now, the election happened in November. It took 2 months to form a government, which to me it's just an embarrassment. We also need to think that the parliament, if I'm not mistaken, was dissolved end of October, beginning of November. So we are talking about almost 3 months of holidays. They said it was Christmas, and they were not joking. So that was the reason of the delay. And that tells how inefficient they are, and that also tells how much we cannot trust them. Now, they have been quite hostile towards Israel, and there will be a huge price to pay for that, since the Orange Man is back in the office. He is aware of what the Irish, of the way of how the Irish have followed the events in the Middle East. They have been vocal in the support of let's call it the Palestinians. I know it's very complex. It's not exactly the Palestinians, but they have been biased. They just have been on the side where Israel is not as a pattern. And we all know that Trump and the Republican Party in general is very much pro-Israel, and they will make you pay if you are not part of their tribe. You'll be invoiced, and you won't be happy when you see the numbers on that invoice. So I expect that it to be painful for the leaders. I don't think this government is going to last more than 2 years. And we Ireland residents are going to see the consequences, because maybe a few American companies, they won't look. I don't think they will leave Ireland. I don't think it will be that tragic or drastic, but perhaps they will reduce significantly their presence in Ireland. And you're talking about massive organization, so we're gonna feel it. And maybe that's all we need to have some alternative, someone that can drive Ireland in a different way. Next one. I really like that. Just a parenthesis. I really like that the questions are not just one topic, not just politics or relationships or travel or books. It's a reflection of the nature of my podcast. So I'm really, really happy that it's translated in the type of questions I received. And that's a good example of what we have now. Do you think that COVID had some impact on how people have relationships? Of course. I think that's feasible. I think the biggest, the greatest impact was that people are now more okay with the idea of keeping in touch digitally. That's what I see. I don't know if you are, whoever sent this question, if you were specifically thinking about a spouse and wife, or parents and their children, or friends. But I'm thinking in general, no? We are more acceptance of interacting with others via screen. It just became a thing. It's just normal. And the more we see others doing, the more we accept it in our lives, because we just take it as the way things work. No, I think that's how human beings operate. If your neighbor, your friend, your relative is operating a certain way, why wouldn't you? No, you just tend to accept as you see it happening on others. So I think COVID made digital a viable way to connect to other individuals. We don't think it's always necessary to meet in person. We are happy to catch up digitally, and whether it's WhatsApp calls or Zoom, whatever platform we use, Facebook Messenger, you name it. It just become normal. And even, let's say, if someone, let's say a relative or a friend, is moving to another country, it's not that much of a tragedy as it was in the past. Of course, whoever is, older than 35, I'd say, we know that there's nothing more engaging than sitting at the same table with someone that we like to spend time with. It won't be replaceable. It won't be replaced with digital conversations and screens and all that. But it's a compliment, and people now think, okay, we won't be able to hang out to go for a coffee or a beer that often, but we still have this. So I think the fact that we can give a face to ourselves in a way we couldn't, it changed the way we relate to others. Cynicism, one of the joys of getting older, yes or no? Look, there are different ways, or there are different concepts of cynicism. The way I think this person puts it in the question is more about being sarcastic and have some light heart when it comes to certain topics and be able to not take things seriously all the time. And if that's the case, and if I'm interpreting it correctly, the answer is yes. I think it's one of the joys that comes with age is developing cynicism. It's a weapon, it's a tool, and it's quite effective. And it's not only good for ourselves. I think it's also magnetic. What I mean by that is, by being cynical, you can attract others, because you cannot be cynic without being smart and creative and to a large degree intelligent. So cynicism, or at least the way I'm describing it here, it's a positive trait, because you need to have a brain to be cynic, and you need to be able to see things from different angles. It's not something that the average Joe is. So it comes with age. Maybe some of us are born with that seed, and it's just developing as we go through experiences, and it's not as straightforward for others, but for sure it's one of the perks of getting older. Any advice for someone wanting to start out for the first time in the podcast world? Right. Any advice? Well, I started a year ago, actually, and I had a surgery the same day as the day I started, and that's something I will explore. That field. I promise I will. I promise I will. It was a dedicated, separate video on that. It won't be live, but I will do it myself. Well, I invite you in the meantime to read my article on Medium. I put it in the description after this. So I'm here for a year, and I can say a couple of things. I'm not an expert, probably more of an expert in the art of love than I'm in podcasting. It's very hard to give advice. What I will say is this: you never know that you are ready until you start. Okay, so don't make assumptions of any sort. So don't think that you already figured it out, and don't think that you know nothing, because you have your own path made of experiences, and if you're not a dumbass, I'm sure you learned things along the way. Everyone did, to an extent. So you're not starting from zero. No one is, no one is what they call it, a white wall. No one is a white wall. So you already come with something. So you are not exactly a beginner. Now, this is something that you haven't done yourself, and maybe what you can do to be more prepared is to talk to people who have done it or are doing it. Okay, because they will have knowledge from life, not from books, not from YouTubers, not from others, but they can share insights that they learn by bleeding and hitting the wall themselves. So I would say reach out to other podcasters and try to talk to them. If you know someone who is a podcaster, even if you don't particularly, let's say, fancy the topic of their podcast. Let's say, like for instance, I keep talking about that, but I'm not into cars, and I'm starting a podcast, and my best friend has a podcast about cars and is doing well. I would sit with him and listen to what he wants to tell me, because all we need to do is switch from cars to books or dating or travel. So that's something. Now, if you don't know someone in the podcast world, maybe you know someone who knows someone that is. So you can ask, can I talk to your friend? You can ask Joe if he can give you John's contact. Okay, that's how network is. And you need to be humble. You need to understand that you know very little, and ask all the questions. That's a basic principle for everything. Don't be afraid to look like a fool, because as Jung said, the fool is the predecessor of the wise. So that's you need to be willing to be a fool publicly, not just being a fool in your basement. You need to be a freaking fool in front of others and have the capacity to expose your foolishness and be okay with the negative emotion that come with it. Okay, so that requires some core. Now, if you don't know anyone who knows someone in the podcast world, go online, go on social media, go on online forums. There are plenty of them. Now, can you take their advice? Well, you need to be mindful, because there's a lot of scam on the internet, and not everyone is trustworthy. So what I will do is I will try to collect as much information as I can, and then see what the patterns are. So see, everyone is saying you should avoid this platform because it's it's expensive and it's crap. Don't use it. Or if someone is saying this is the best for a beginner, go for it. See where the patterns are and focus on this. And so that is an advice that is applicable not only for podcasters but for any sort of venture. Next one. It's already above 1 hour, but we'll try to make it in I don't know, maybe like looking at the questions another 15 minutes. If you have questions, I can still answer on the comments. I'm happy. I'm ignited by this. I enjoy it, and I miss this a lot. Like, I've been absent for 2 weeks. I participated in podcasts with others, but I haven't run mine, and I was badly missing it. So this helps my recovery. So I'm very thankful for you guys who are watching it. You are part of my healing. So thank you very much. Next question: will you see any Portuguese or Portugal-based guests interviewed, seeing you are Portuguese yourself? Now, I don't particularly understand the end of the question, seeing you are Portuguese yourself. Maybe the person mean because I'm Portuguese myself. So I'm going to answer it that way. Well, we saw a couple of Portuguese folks in my podcast, or Portugal-based guests. There were a good few. There were a few, and there will be more. As a matter of fact, one of the guests I have confirmed for March is a Portuguese man based in Portugal. So, yeah, Portuguese are, of course, more than welcome. We will do this in English to keep it consistent, to not to mess up with the algorithm, to make sure that it can be understood by everyone, just to be inclusive in the right way of the term. So yeah, Portuguese people will always come to my door, So you're welcome. Where do you see your podcast in 5 years? Yeah, this is looks like an HR question, no? 5 years. 5 years, okay. I think what they mean by 5 years is in the midterm, no? Not exactly long term, like 10, not near future, like next year or the year after, but 5 years. I would say that one of the things I want to keep is this format that has been the basis of the podcast, which is the one-on-one interviews. That is something to be kept. I think it works pretty well. And it's a way to get to know individuals as they are and offer people real conversation. So that's something that will remain for sure. Now, as Flip, I know he's still watching this, told me at the beginning, and that's something I highlighted in my article. The podcast will evolve as any other creative endeavor, and that's the beauty of it. Because when you start, especially if you are new to what you are doing, you don't know exactly where are you putting yourself in. So I expect to expand to other models in the near future. And the near future means already next month. So I said it publicly, so it's no harm to bring it up again. That one of the things I would like to do is have a panel and discuss topics. That's something I would be very keen to explore, because I think it offers a dynamic that is of people's interest. It's because sometimes the one-on-one conversations, yes, they are energizable, but the groups, the small groups, it's always different because by definition they are more colorful. So that's something I want to do, and maybe outside of podcasting as well, vlogging. I've been thinking of being out and about, just being being an idiot on the street. So if I'm an idiot here, why cannot be being an idiot out there? I don't mind, maybe that's something we can do. And also partnerships. That's something I'm very, very interested in, partnerships with other podcasters. I had a couple of conversations recently, so maybe it's something that will set it up, and always using the topics that have been part of these conversations. And it's good because there are so much that has been included. So we are not I'm not a niche kind of YouTuber. So there's a lot of avenues to explore. So hopefully I'll still be around in 5 years. I enjoy doing this, and with more and more beautiful people with me. What are your shoulds or self-requirements in such a polarized environment? That's not that straightforward, but I'll start by the end of the question. We live in a very polarized environment where people fight just for the fact that they don't disagree, for the fact that they don't agree. Let's say about the weather. Some say, oh, some people say there's a storm because something happened in the Antarctica, and then others one make a laugh of that, and then they don't sit at the same table because they think of each other as stupid. So that's a fact. Now, how you navigate on that is shoulds and self-requirements. Now, what I would say, how I approach this polarized environment is that I try to listen to everyone. Believe me, I try to make the time and the availability to understand why people stand for they stand. There should be a reason. and often people are in favor of a certain worldview just because they listen that frequently on the TV or on social media. So they're just echoing or reproducing what is being propagated. So, but you see that when those individuals are shocked when confronted with different opinions. But I still want to listen to them. I still allow them to put their thoughts or words together. So I think that's a way to approach. So that's a truth. That's a truth that we should always. There's Jordan Peterson rule. I have it here in front of me, the 12 rules of life. Like assume something that people know, something that you don't. I think it's like that. I cannot read it now without glasses, and I don't know it by heart. But it says something like that, and I truly believe on that one. I believe on all of them, but that one for sure. People would be aware of things that you have no clue, and vice versa. That's not a one-way situation. It works both directions. So yeah, approach people always with an open mind. At least you'll be in a position to know who they are and have a good understanding of self-requirements. Like I try to. I'm not a champion of discipline by any means, although I believe that I regulate my days and routines by standards that help me to achieve most of the things I'm interested to attain. So I'm very mindful of what time I wake up. Before I had this surgery, I would always wake up at 5:45. I try not to eat more than 4 times a day. I try to stick to 3, but I not always cope. When I interact with individuals, I like to. For instance, when I interview people on the podcast, I always use the first 10-15 minutes to measure the vibe, to see what kind of dance are we going to, what kind of tune will make us dance. Just yeah, exactly. Yeah, I wanna get a rhythm, and so that's something I do. I prefer to let people tell them who they are. For instance, when I lived in Hungary, just to mixing topics here, travel, dating, politics. When I lived in Hungary, and unfortunately, like most of the environment where I found myself in was very much anti-urban or anti-Fidesz, and I'm a big fan of most of the Orban's measures in Hungary. I think he does very well for the country, but I wouldn't go around and tell people, yeah, I'm immediately, yeah, I'm on his side, and I think he's doing great for the country. I would always want others to review it first, and the way I did it, I think, was quite practical, because I think I was able to get what I want without others realizing. This is not manipulation. This is just engagement techniques. Okay. And also, what I often did was I would tell people, I would introduce myself and say, my name is Vitor, and Vitor in Hungarian is Victor. So people say Vitor, they would be confused. And I would say, yeah, Vitor like Victor, like the prime minister. And by that, most people would react. Either they would give me a thumbs up, or they would express disgust about Orban. Then I would know with whom I was interacting. So I think that helps. That helps to not to put yourself out there in the first couple of minutes. You may give hints about who you are, but not expose yourself too much, because if you do, people might lose interest on you, because all has been seen and exposed, and why stick around? So if you have two more questions here, I don't know, people can still put comments on the topic here for the topics. I don't know why it's moving this one, but okay. Okay. No. Why there are more virgins now? I didn't know there are more virgins. I'm not really running, how you call it, not inquiring people about their sexual experience. But but there are, I saw it on the internet. There are a lot of videos out there claiming that the youngsters are not having sex. Like, I'm gonna move this because it's a bit awkward. There are a lot of videos out there like claiming that the youngsters are sexless. No, I don't know if that's a phenomenon across the road. I presume there is, and that talks to the digital sphere that I was referring to a few minutes ago, and that's where the downside is. That like nowadays, just to be very crude, like why would a guy that, let's say, he's not that good looking, his approach skills are far from being perfect, why would he be out and about looking for a woman that all he can do is getting off on the internet? That happens, and it's not from COVID. I remember I hang out with a guy who would tell us that directly. I know that it's pointless for me to hit the club on Friday, Saturday night, because I'll be back home sad, with less money in my bank account, and depressed, and I will sleep alone. So why would I do that? I just sort myself, on the internet, and that's a fact. I think that's one of the reasons is sex is accessible in a way that it wasn't in the past. Now I'm not that's a long topic. I'm not suggesting that we should ban adult contact. I'm in favor of restrictions. If I would have a child, I would be very very mindful about what sorts of web pages or apps is mainly he, but also she, accessing, because I think those, my opinion, porn is poison. So yeah, I think that one of the reasons is the massive presence of the digital sphere in people's daily life. So why would you go out? And the other one is the Me Too movement. The Me Too movement, it's still around. It may have slowed down in the last year or two, and probably it will fade away with Trump's presidency. Fingers crossed. And what it does is it makes men very, very, very conscious when it comes to approach women in public, and even by private message, because you never know, you can be reported. And I read the stats the other day that until, I don't remember exactly the decade, but probably it was like the 50s or 60s, or I don't know, maybe the 70s, most people would meet their partner at work. It's no longer a thing. And it's not only because there are more and more people working from home. It's not that. It's because men are thinking twice before inviting a woman out or even giving her a compliment. So everyone is afraid, and also women are taking themselves too seriously. That like there is this hypersexualization of women that I'm not really in favor of. And what happens is, and that also I think explains the number of virgins. Let's say there are 50 women and 50 men. Okay, and it's not that now with dating apps and all that, every man is getting a bit more sex. No, what happens, like in the past, say, from these 50 men, maybe 10 will have a lot of sex, 30 will have a decent sex life, and 10 will have very little. Now, what's happening is those one at the top, they are capitalizing that. So from these 10 men that before had 30 women, now they have maybe 45, and they're only remaining 5. That's what's happening. So there is a lot of videos about it. So a lot of psychologists discussing this, that those are the top are just turning into predators, and no wonder. From the places that I have visited, which country do you have found the best balance between warm, friendly people and organization and things working well? Israel. Out of the question. Israel. Israel is an absolute man-made miracle. That's what it is. Man-made miracle. But the feminists are going to be upset with me saying man, but I don't care. That's a place where people are practical and passionate at the same time. And that's one of the reasons why I'm so fascinated with the Jewish nation. It's absolutely fantastic. Like people are very cool. They will look after you. Hospitality, they have hospitality and all that. And at the same time, everyone is very focused on what they are doing for a living. So there is, in my experience, there's a degree of self-awareness in Jews that we don't encounter in most humanity. I'm not saying here that there is a race number one, I think like that. That's not what I'm suggesting, but what I encounter is in the Jewish community, good middle ground, as this person pointed out, between camaraderie and work ethics. And that's fantastic. That's fantastic. Now, Ireland to a degree also has that. Just come to my mind now. Ireland to a degree has that. People are extremely friendly. They will be genuinely interested in others, and things work well in the sense that they function. They might not be that organized as it seems, but at the end of the day, the country is like economically is above anything else. But I will focus on Israel. Israel is the best example of common ground between routine, what I would call routine discipline, and warm heart. So I think we have 2 more questions here from Marcos. Do you believe this is creating a weak society? Nowadays, the guys prefer a burger instead of dating a lady. Instant compensation without any effort. 100%. 100%. There's no strong society without strong men. And one thing that has happened is men have been castigated, if not castrated. So I can put a question here. So because there's so much thing at boys avail, like getting a juicy burger or some nasty, stupid pleasure, and dating a lady is complicated. Most men will go for the simple stuff, what is accessible without much effort. So that's for sure. The easiness of life it's not making the society any compact. I got this message from Philippe. Okay, that was before. Right, so it's now 1.5 hours. I think I'm gonna come to a closure here. Yeah, I really enjoyed this format. Took me longer than I expected to go through all the questions, but the reason is there were so many, there was so much to cover, and I couldn't be that succinct as I expected, or maybe I expected, but that's another topic for another time. So I want to thank everyone who watched this. Please stick around. I'm getting myself in shape. I managed to be here for 1.5 hours talking about a lot of stuff. I hope I made sense. I hope I provide some food for thought. And I need to ask you again for the usual stuff: like, subscribe, share, all that. And there will be guests coming over next Tuesday and the Tuesday after, and the first Tuesday of March. For now, we are sticking to Tuesdays. It was a coincidence, but I think it's a good day, Tuesday. I like Tuesday because Tuesday usually is one of these days, like, yeah, second day of the week. It's not the day that people are out and about. So we will stick to Tuesday and hope we can both enjoy ourselves. So take care, folks. See you next time. Bye.